Good afternoon to all of you. I am Santosh Kaure. I am working as additional executive engineer in MSCTCL. So all are welcome here in the free webinar on HVDC technology. So my request to all participants to please mute yourself and also please keep your video off. And at the last, we will have question answer session. So that's my request. So without wasting time, we will start our today's topic. So we know that before starting this topic, we must know the India's, we can say, total power sector scenario. So in India, we have total installed capacity as on date 30th 11/2019 as per CEA. So it was 365.97 gigawatt. Out of them, northern region is contributing this 95.893 gigawatt. Western region is having 120.372 gigawatt. Southern region is having 109.236 gigawatt. And the eastern region, this region, is 36.047. And this NER, northeast region is this region. So most of here hydro stations are there. So it is a 4.372 gigawatt. And the islands is having 0.058 and total installed capacity. So it was in November 2019, 365.97. So, and the target which, please mute yourself. Please, I am requesting to all participants. So the target we kept as a under planning stage that up to 2027, we will have to install near about 385 gigawatt to mitigate the peak demand of 520 gigawatt. Participants are requested if they mute their self and keep their video off, so that will not disturb to any other participants. So my request to all of you. So this is the overall installed capacity of India. Now we'll see how we become as a one grid. So we know that previously in India we were having 5 regional grids. So northern region, this is western, this is east, and this is southern, and this is a northeast region. So India is having 5 regional grids. And how these grids were connected, regional grids, with the help of back-to-back HVDC terminal station. So we will having this, if I want to connect north and west, so one back-to-back HVDC link is there. So likewise, we have connected these regions back-to-back HVDC, as well as some EHV transmission lines also. So this was the first scenario of India. So later on in 1991 October, so this is the northeast region and the east region were synchronized. So they connected with the AC system. Previously, it was only just connected with the back-to-back HVDC terminal stations. So in March 2003, this west means this region, particularly we can say this region, western region, is synchronized with east, and this is the east and northeast region, means this region, northeast region. So complete this forms the central grid. So central grid comprises of western region, then there is a northeast region and eastern region. So this happened in March 2003. Otherwise, before that, before connection with the AC system, we will have only back-to-back HVDC links, which were connecting all the regions. So later on, in August 2006, the new grid, that is, we synchronized with the northern region also. So that happened in August 2006, and now all the 4 regions get connected: eastern, western, northern region, and this is the northeast region. So these all regions get connected. but still southern region was up to 2013. It was asynchronously connected, means with the help of back-to-back HVDC as well as one link from eastern region of India to the western region. So in this way, so these links were connected. So in 31st December 31st 2013, we have synchronized our southern grid with the rest of grid. These four regions get connected with the southern region with the we were having 765 kV Raichur Solapur line. So with that we have synchronized the southern region also. And from 2013 India is having one nation, one grid and one frequency. So this is the some how we connected the regional grids that we have seen. So this is the Maharashtra's peak demand. So in the we can say that in the December 2019, Maharashtra was having catered near about 23 megawatt, 23,613 megawatt. That much power we catered. So that was the highest power that handled in 2019. Before that, 18-19, it was 24,000. And if you see the today's miss just today, if you see, so the state demand was 18,349 megawatt. So these are the today's. So this is the power sector of Maharashtra. And now we'll switch towards our main topic, that is our HVDC system. So again, I'm requesting to all participants to mute. Please mute yourself. Please keep your video off so that other participants will not be disturbed. So we know that in our electrical power system, the power is generated at low voltages. Then it is step up at EHV voltages. Again, that is transmitted over the some AC lines and DC lines. And then again, it is stepped down and that supplied to the consumers. So for the mostly transmission purpose, in India, we are having some HVDC lines as well as we are having 765 kV, 400 kV, 220, 132, 100, 110. So these are the some of the transmission levels up to 66 kV. So this is our electrical general power system. And now we are today mostly focus will be on HVDC system, that is the high voltage direct current system. So before going to see the working and all the principle how this HVDC system works, so that before that we'll see how many projects are there in India, HVDC projects. I'm requesting to all participants, please mute yourself so that other people will getting disturbed. Just mute me then. So we will have generally perception that there are only few HVDC links in India. People generally talk about the Rihan Dadri project and sometimes this HVDC Chandrapur Padhe project. So these are, but there are more than 10 links in India. So that we will see how many projects are there in India and how many projects, what are the projects that are coming in India in future. So that we will see. If someone or anyone has some problem regarding voice, you can do this. Just a minute, some pointer is creating some issue here. So just I have to pause that. Sorry for disturbance. Okay. Now we'll see how many HVDC systems are there in India and what are the specialty of those projects, what are the new technologies that are coming, and also the future HVDC links which are coming in India. So this is the thyristor wall hall. This is the inside structure of the HVDC system. So these are the HVDC systems in India. Once again, I am requesting to all of you, please mute yourself. This is your moral responsibility when we are on the common platform. So take care of it. So these are the HVDC systems in India. So the very first link is Rihan Dadri. So this is Rihan Dadri HVDC link. It is a plus minus 500 kV. It's a 1500 megawatt HVDC project. So this was the, we can say, the very old link it was. And there is a Vindhyachal back-to-back HVDC link. That is a back-to-back. This is a Chandrapur Padge HVDC link is there. And here, after that, there is a Chandrapur Ramagundam HVDC. So that is also there, which connect western and southern part of India. Then Barsur, Lower Sileru is there, Gazuwaka, Sasaram, Talcher Kolar link, which connect eastern part of our country to the southern part. So that was the longest link previously, but now again there are more links that came. So this was 2000 megawatt capacity, Talcher Kolar link. Then Balia Bhiwdi, this is one of the, that is already that link came. Northeast Agra from this is the NER region, Northeast region to Agra near to Delhi. So this is the special link that is known as multi-terminal HVDC link. Otherwise, all links are having 2 terminal stations, but the speciality of this link is we are having actually here 3 terminal stations. So that technology is known as multi-terminal HVDC. Then Mundra, Mahendragarh, that is also one of the HVDC. So these are some of the HVDC projects. Again, there are some of the new links that are again installed, like Champa Kurukshetra. This is the ultra high voltage DC link. So this is a 3000 megawatt capacity Champa Kurukshetra link. Here it is Champa and here it is Kurukshetra. So this is the one of the link. Northeast Agra we already discussed. Then again we will have a interconnection with India, Bangladesh connector, and also we will have an interconnection with the neighboring countries, that is Sri Lanka. Means we are not only installing a HVDC link in India, but to the neighboring countries, we are going to connect with the neighboring countries also. Okay, so these are some of the details of HVDC links in India. And these are some of the ratings of those links, their power handling capacities, then the polarity of the poles, their voltages, and where these links are there present, so that you can go through it later on also. I will share all this data to you also. Then upcoming links are also there, again one link which is already installed, means 3 poles are completed and 1 pole is under construction. That is a Raigad Pugalur. It is plus minus 800 kV, 6000 megawatt. It is a line commutated converters that is in progress. 1 pole is still not constructed. And there is a Pugalur to Thrissur VSC HVDC. So this is the different technology. First time in India, there is another technology which is known as voltage source converter technology. So that construction is also going on. So this technology based on the IGBTs. Otherwise, all these projects is having a voltage source converters. That is a thyristors. So that is the specialty of these links. These are the voltage source converter based links. I'm requesting to all of you. So we have already discussed that Champa Kurukshetra, these are the 2 bipoles. Generally, see, if you take the case of Chandrapur Padge HVDC link, it is a bipolar link. But in this Champa Kurukshetra, there are 2 bipoles. Also in that Northeast Agra plus minus 800 kV, there are 2 bipoles. And here also that Raigad to Pugalur, so that is having also 2 bipoles. So that's why one one bipole can carry 3000 megawatt of power and other bipole can carry 3000 megawatt. So total 6000 megawatt can carry. Again, there is a that already we discussed that 2000 megawatt voltage source converter based HVDC, very special link, first time coming in India. There are so many benefits of this technology. So that we will discuss today how this voltage source converter technology is advantageous for us. Then that one pole is likely to complete in December 2020. That one plus minus 320 kV, 2000 megawatt capacity. So that will come into operation probably in December 2020. And we are having a back-to-back HVDC station in India. So that all are under the stage of upgradation, because all the projects more than 25 years, these are the old projects. So now their control system and all the old technology, they are going to replace with new one. And this, just I want to say that MSC TCL, or previously it was MSCB, is the only utility in India who is having their own HVDC link. Otherwise, all HVDC links in India are belongs to Power Grid, that is PGCIL, that is the Central Transmission Power Company. So they are handling all the HVDC links. But just this HVDC Chandrapur Padge is handled by MSC TCL. So this MSC TCL is the only here we can say transmission utility in India who is handling the HVDC project. Some of the details of these projects, when it was commissioned, like this Rihan Dadri was commissioned in December 1991. It was 1500. It is 1500 megawatt power. Now they are also upgrading it, its control and protection system. We have also Chandrapur Padge also planned to upgrade control and protection system. So these are some of the salient features of all these projects. So later on you can go through it, because we have to see the technical aspects mostly in HVDC. These are the ratings of Vindhyachal back-to-back, salient features of it. Then back-to-back terminal station at Chandrapur, Ramagundam, that is the back-to-back HVDC. These are some of the salient features. Then we are having a Talcher Kolar link. It is a plus minus 500 2000 megawatt. So all the ratings are given here. Later on you can go through it. Then back-to-back Gazuwaka, that is also one of the HVDC link back-to-back. Then we are having Chandrapur Padge HVDC terminus link, or that is in the Chandrapur is in the eastern part of Maharashtra, and that is Padge is in the western part of Maharashtra. So power is coming from Chandrapur to Padge, and these are some of the power transmission capability of HVDC in different modes. So that later on we can discuss it. This is the Balia Bhiwadi HVDC link. Pole 1 is commissioned on 31st March 2010, and these are some of the features. Later on also you can go through it. And this is the first HVDC link which belongs to private participant. If you take the Electricity Act 2003, later on, because of that only, any private participant can construct any transmission line or any corridor, power corridor, or HVDC link also. So Adani has installed one HVDC link. It is from Mundra, Gujarat to Haryana, Mohindergarh. So having 1,000 kilometer distance and plus minus 500 kV, it is a bipolar system having a 2,500 megawatt capacity. So that is the benefit of Electricity Act 2003, that anyone can participate in transmission also. So this is the first private HVDC link in India. We already discussed about the Northeast Agra, that is the Northeast region to the Agra. There is a multi-terminal HVDC link. And for this multi-terminal HVDC link, India has made one record in the world, that India is the first country in the world who is having multi-terminal ultra high voltage DC link. Otherwise, China has also there, many countries have ultra high voltage DC plus minus 800 kV. But India is having that is a multi-terminal HVDC with the ultra high voltage DC. So that is we have made one record in the world. And this is we know that this northeast region is a highly, we can say here hydropower is more. So to harness that hydropower, and also some power we are getting from Bhutan also. So to transmit that bulk power to the, we can say towards the northern region, Delhi. So this power grid has constructed one HVDC line from this northeast region. So this region of our country is known as chicken neck area. So it looks like a chicken neck. So it's a very broad, it's a 18 kilometer here and 22 kilometer here. So there are constraints of transmission. We cannot install too much transmission corridors because the gap is very less, and we have to maintain the clearances also. So Power Grid has installed this plus minus 800 kV ultra high voltage DC with the multi-terminal feature and having 2 bipoles. So this is the power handling, we can say biggest power handling capacity of the link. And from this northeast region, there is one, we can say there are 3 terminal stations. One is at Biswanath Chariali, which is in Assam, and from that there is Alipurduar. It is in the eastern part of our country, and then in the northern part there is Agra. So these are the 3 terminal stations for the multi-terminal HVDC link. So this is a very special kind of link in the world, and it is having the transmission capability of 6,000 megawatt. There are 2 bipoles, and having one bipole is having a capacity of 3,000 megawatt. And the distance from this Assam to Agra, it is 1,728 kilometers. We generally prefer HVDC transmission when the distance increases beyond 700 to 800 kilometers. That is known as break-even distance. So for the bulk power transmission, we have adopted this multi-terminal HVDC link. So these are the rectifier stations, and these are the inverter station at Agra. But the speciality of HVDC link that you can, there is a facility that any rectifier can act as an inverter, and inverter can act as a rectifier. So that is the speciality of the multi-terminal or any HVDC link, we can say. So these are some of the features that parallel operation of HVDC. There are the benefits when we operate the system in multi-terminal way. Now Champa Kurukshetra plus minus 800 kV, it's a 3000 megawatt HVDC link. So it is having the very special technology used here. Generally in HVDC we need 2 earthing stations or earth electrode station be required at both at rectifier as well as inverter station. But in this technology, they have used something different technology. With they have one pole, that is one is positive and other is negative pole, and they have again installed one third conductor for the return path. Whenever it is bipolar mode, then this third conductor is used as a return path for the whatever current difference is there between the 2 poles. So that current flows through this middle conductor. So here there is no requirement of any electrode station. There are many disadvantages of electrode stations. So they have used this new technology in the Champa Kurukshetra HVDC, ultra high voltage. Then we are having a India-Bangladesh interconnection project. That India, that is Power Grid has planned to connect that is India with the neighboring countries. So accordingly, we proposed this 500 megawatt interconnector between 2 countries, that is Bangladesh and India, along with some 400 kV lines also. Already we are connected to Nepal, Bhutan at the EHV level, extra high voltage level, and in future we are going to connect with the HVDC technology with the neighboring countries. Also, Power it has planned to connect our system, power system with the Sri Lanka grid. So there is a Ceylon Electricity Board and PGCL has planned to install one HVDC link. So that is from Madurai to Rameshwaram. There are the underground, we can say these are the, this is the proposed route from Madurai to Rameshwaram, Rameshwaram to Talai Mannar, and Talai Mannar to Anuradhapura. So that is in Sri Lanka. So it is 150 kilometer this, and this is Madurai to Rameshwaram. It is 105 kilometers, and 50 kilometer will be the submarine cable that will be from the sea. So this will be the interconnection between two countries, so that power exchange can be possible between the two countries. So these are the proposed routes. Again, that we already talked about India and Bangladesh interconnection along with the 400 kV double circuit line and two 500 megawatt HVDC back-to-back terminal station. And one link that was proposed by Reliance Energy, that was from 400 kV Nagothane, that is in Konkan region, to 220 kV RA in Mumbai. So this is based on, this was based on voltage source converter technology, because this is also something different technology. It is not current source converter. These are the voltage source converter. But because of some their issues, they are not installing this project. But this they have planned to supply maximum power to the Mumbai region. That bulk power you can feed with the help of voltage source converter, that is known as HVDC light technology. You can feed power to the consumers, bulk consumers in the we can say metropolitan region like Mumbai. So they have planned accordingly, but still because of some of the reasons they are not implementing that project. So this is the Indo-Sri Lanka HVDC interconnection. Up to this there is a overhead line, then there are the sea that is the submarine cables, and later on there is again overhead line. So this is the, we can say with the combination of transmission line as well as cables for the transmission they are going to use. Now what about MIDC? MIDC means what? It's a multi-infeed DC. If you see the northern region of our country, so previously means from the starting there was there is a Rihan Dadri, then later on there is another link that came, that is Northeast Agra, then Balia Bhiwadi came. So all these terminal stations are feeding power into the northern region of our country. So that's why, because of this feeding power in the same region, then it is we can say that it is a multi-infeed DC. It's a multi-infeed DC. So how the system behaves, that is also how the converter interacts with each other when pushing power into the same region. So the behavior of converter is something different. So that such type of infeeds is known as multi-infeed DC links, which are feeding into the same region. Now we'll see some of the basics of HVDC. Up till now, we have seen what is the power scenario of our country. And also we have seen how many HVDC links are there. We already in already are in operation, as well as under construction, as well as future HVDC links. Now we'll see the basics of HVDC transmission. If you are seeing in this picture, so one person is running and other person is skating. So whenever you run, what happens? There is a continuous up and down movement of your legs and hands. So, and here one person is skating means there is no that much movement. So the power consumption or power utilized by this person who is running will be more, and the power utilized by this person is the internal power which is we are having. So that will be less here. So our AC system is like this. In AC system there is a continuous zero, positive maximum, zero, again there is a negative maximum, again zero, positive maximum, like that. So there are continuous ups and downs. But here in the DC technology, there is actually it's a straight, we can say it's a constant power. So there are no up and downs, means frequency is zero. Here frequency is 50 Hertz or 60 Hertz. So when there is a continuous up and downs, it means there will be there are the more losses in the AC system. But in the DC, there is no frequency is zero. It means XL is zero and XC is infinite. So that's why there are only resistive losses. But here in AC technology, there are the inductive and capacitive plus resistive, means there is an impedance is there. So losses will be more in the AC system. So that we can show with the one cartoon here. So see here, this is the DC system and this is the voltage, this is current and this is the resistance. So DC link is having only resistance. DC link is having only resistance. And if you see the this AC system, there are the resistance, inductance and capacitance. So whenever current moves from the AC system, it has to withstand with the RLC, that is the impedance. So we can say that in the AC system, losses are more. Now we'll see some historical background of HVDC transmission. So we know that in 1880s, the DC was developed by Thomas Alva Edison. He has started transmitting the DC power over certain distances to the New York City of America. So that was the starting of the power in the New York with the help of DC. After that, in the same period, another scientist came, that was Nikola Tesla, who has invented AC system, and he has again supplied that power. Means he has suggested that technology and developed also. And later on, there started the war of currents, that which technology is better, whether AC or DC. And later on, there was a conflict, but we know that today's scenario, for the generation and distribution, mostly, and mostly we can say, generation and distribution, AC is more preferable. And for the transmission, when there is a bulk power transmission, and the specialized applications like if you are to harness the renewable energy sources, then you can go for the voltage source converter bus HVDC. So we can say that AC system is universally accepted, and DC has particular applications in the power sector. So in the period of 1882 to 1930s, Thury systems were developed by Michael Thury. He has connected DC generators in series and supplied power to the induction motors. And there was another invention in 1901, that was the mercury vapor rectifier developed by Hewitt. So that was the born of HVDC. In 1929, Dr. Yunus Lamb, who has invented mercury arc valves, he was engineer with ABB, and for his contribution in the field of HVDC, he is known as father of HVDC. So based on the mercury arc valves, the first commercial HVDC was developed in Berlin in 1945. But we know that that period is of Second World War, so that project never came into operation. And later on, in 1954, the first commercial HVDC, that was with the help of 96 kilometer sea cable, that is submarine cables, having 20 megawatt capacity between Sweden mainland to the island of Gotland. So this was the first commercial HVDC in the world in 1954 using the mercury arc valves. But in later on, in 1960s, thyristors were invented, and first time in the world in the Gotland project, that means this project, the first commercial HVDC, here they have replaced mercury arc valves with the thyristor based valves. And in 1967, they have used that in Gotland project. And later on in Canada, up to 320 megawatt in 1972, they have used that thyristor based technology. Later on in 1979, microcomputer based control equipments developed for HVDC. The highest HVDC voltage in the period of 1984 was plus minus 600 kV, 3150 megawatt power. That project in is Itapu, Brazil. Mostly they have connected their hydro power to their grid with the help of this highest HVDC transmission link. Then first active DC filter was developed in 1994, and in Chandrapur Padge project also in India, there is a first active DC filter of its kind in the world implemented in HVDC project on that is an experimental basis, research basis. So that otherwise the first active DC filter, it was in developed in 1994, and later on after 97, 98, here in Chandrapur Padge project, active DC filter was developed. In 1995, HVDC 2000 concept given by ABB. So in that concept, they have developed outdoor walls. Generally, we are having thyristor indoor, but they have developed outdoor walls, and the size was walls was very less. They have developed contour filters. If you take the case of filters, to eliminate particular harmonics, we want some high pass filter, band pass filter, like that. But they have developed contour filter. Contour means continuously tuned filter. So that filter, one single filter can take care of all the harmonics present in the that HVDC system. So that concept was HVDC 2000. Then first triple C HVDC, this is technology is based on thyristors, but the specialty of this first triple C HVDC was in between thyristor walls and converter transformers, they have used series capacitors, so that if there is a passive network is there, suppose generation is low on any bus, so that can connect with this technology. Whenever short circuit ratio is less than 3 also, you can connect your HVDC system with this first triple C HVDC. Then first voltage source converter based transmission developed in Gotland, Sweden in 1999. This was the first steps towards the new technology or modern technology in the field of HVDC in 1999. That was based on voltage source converters, that is IGBTs. Otherwise, up to 1998, we were in the world, we are using thyristor technology. And later on, we have started development in the voltage source converter technology. Later on, China has developed plus minus 800 kV, 6,400 megawatt ultra high voltage DC in 2010. So that was one of the record by them. But India has later on developed, that is we already talk about multi-terminal DC, that is plus minus 800 kV, 6,000 megawatt capacity, Northeast Agra project. And before that, there was one voltage source converter based HVDC developed in San Francisco, USA. So it's a plus minus 200 kV, 400 megawatt, 85 kilometer with the MMC, modular multi-level converters. Wow. This is a voltage source converter based technology, but it is a modular multi-level converter based. And later on, in now this China has already installed this 12 gigawatt 3,304.7 kilometer. This is the 1100 kV ultra high voltage DC link. So this is the first kind of in the world that gigawatts of power you can transmit over the longest distance up to 3,300 like that kilometer. So this is the brief historical background of HVDC transmission. But we know that generally for the development of HVDC, Swedish or American people take the benefit, that is the credit for this. But the real history says that if you see the slide here, in 1945, there was a commercial HVDC system developed in Berlin, Germany. Means actually in 45s, they are having actually their HVDC systems. But because of Second World War, they never came into operation. It means that German scientists and engineers were the real inventors of the HVDC technology. So this is the historical background. Now we'll see how HVDC works. This is a single line diagram of the HVDC system. This is the single line diagram. Here we know that HVDC connects two systems. That is, one is AC system to the other AC system. This may be generation, this may be other generation, it might be load also. But as per the generation or load, you have to connect the technology like that. Here, if you take this side, this is the rectifier station which is connected with the AC system like a generator through the converter transformers. These are the converter transformers. Then there are the rectifiers which convert AC into DC. Then there is a DC line which convert that DC is transmitted over certain distance. Then again at the inverter station, that DC is converted into AC and fed to the load. So this is the system. Here, if you see, this is the sending end and this is the receiving end. And here in the AC side, you have to connect the filters. In the conventional technology, that is the, we can say, line commutated converters or thyristor based technology, you have to connect the these filters to AC side as well as DC side. And here AC is converted into DC, and again DC is converted into AC. If you see here, current is actually converted. Current is converted in AC to DC, DC to AC. So that's why thyristors are known as current source converters. Okay, and again here DC is converted into AC, and the return current always goes through either through the metallic return when there is a healthy pole is available. Otherwise, it will go through the ground. So this is the we can say monopolar. It's a ground return mode. This is the monopolar converter station. This is the AC switchyard. Then there are the converter transformers here. Then these are the thyristor valves. These are the harmonic filters to filter out the harmonics. And these are the shunt capacitors. And this is the DC line and DC switchyard. So any terminal station, suppose if it is a, we can say, rectifier station, so input is from here. So here from the AC switchyard, you will energize the valves, but in the shunt connection, there will be the filters to filter out the harmonics, and there are the shunt capacitors. Why shunt capacitors are provided? To provide the additional reactive power. Suppose the bus is not that much generation is available on our bus, so we have to provide the additional reactive power. For that, shunt capacitors are used, harmonic filters are used. There might be band pass filter, high pass filter, like that. And this is the AC switcher. Here circuit breaker, isolators, lightning arrestor, all the equipments are there. Then there are the converter transformers here, and converter transformers later on there are the thyristor valves. These are the indoor valves which are the suspended structures. These are hanging to the ceiling, And here we are having a DC switcher where DC filters are there, and this is the DC line. This is the we can say first tower. If it is a rectifier station, it is the first tower present in the DC switcher. From there, there is a connection with the DC line. So this is the structure of the converter station. Now equipments are there. Just a minute, I want to. Someone is speaking. Okay. So in AC side, there are some equipments like we are having AC filters, converter breakers, measuring equipments like CTs, CVTs, conventional CTs, CVTs, and here converter transformers in the AC side. These are converter transformers, these are the converter breakers, these are the DC CTs, these are the isolators, these are AC filters, and this is the, we can say it is a CVT, capacitance voltage transformer. And at the middle there is a thyristor valve. It is a combination of 6 pulse 6 pulse converter. Generally 12 pulse converters are used in the plus minus 500 kV DC. Then here we are having this smoothing reactor at DC side. If you take here DC side, there are smoothing reactor, then wall arresters are there, DC filters. Later on DVD. DVD means DC voltage divider. See, the principle of DC and AC quantity measurement is very different. When I want to measure AC quantities, it's a transformer action. That is we can say induction effect. But take the case of DC, measurement is not so easy. So for the measurement of DC voltage, we use DC voltage divider, DVD. And for measurement of DC current, we are having DC-CT. So this is works on the flux cancellation principle, and this is the resistive divider arrangement. So their working is something different. And sometimes in the neutral part, there are the breakers that are actually not DC breakers. Conventional breakers, SF6 types of breakers are used to isolate the system during de-energization. Okay, otherwise you will never find out any breaker into the DC side. Only neutral part has the breakers, and AC side also has breaker. So if we take the HVDC case, so HVDC simply we can explain with the battery analogy. Suppose there are plus minus two terminal to one battery, other is plus minus, but this battery is variable battery. So our HVDC system actually behaves like a variable DC source. So rectifier is acting as a one type of source which is variable. With the help of by controlling the firing angle, we are actually controlling the DC. Here also like act as a battery, and in between that there is a smoothing reactor, resistance of the line, and smoothing reactor at the another. And when current flows, when there is a potential difference from rectifier to inverter current flows, when VAR minus VBR is higher than the VBI minus VAI, then current flows from rectifier to inverter. So battery system, simply analogy, there is no much more complications in the HVDC system. It's a simply a battery system. This we have already seen typical converter station diagram. That is, this is the AC switcher, these are the converters, and this is the DC switcher. This is a ground electrostation or metallic return path. Same thing is here shown, like a 6x6 pulse converter in series. Converter transformer star delta windings are connected. These are the AC switcher. Then here smoothing reactor, DC filters, and this is the return path, and this is the transmission line or cable. So HVDC is just not a transmission. It is we know that today is the era of artificial intelligence. So everything can be with the help of intelligence controllers. You will have fine control over any system. So in power system also, in the recent technology, so the HVDC link is acting as an intelligent link. So you can correct any voltage, frequency, you can minimize whatever changes are there. Power you can change very quickly, easily. It is independent of the frequency at the buses, power transmission angle, and voltage level at the buses. And the most advantage of HVDC is that it acts as a generator near to the load center. That is the biggest benefit of the HVDC link. Means suppose there is a HVDC link capacity of Chandrapur Padge is 1500 megawatt. So Chandrapur is away from Padge is at a distance of 752 kilometer. So when power transmitted from Chandrapur to Padge, so that 1500 megawatt power with the loss of 1 to 1.5% only. So that power you will get at the Padge station, means Padge 400 kV. So the system behaves like that. I have connected 3 generators of 500 megawatt at the Padge itself. Means system acts as a generator near the load centers like that. Just a minute. Sorry. Just.
Sir, annotation unmute करा सगळ्यांचं. Annotation चालू आहे.
Yes.
Problem.
Yes.
Annotation कोणतरी करतोय स्क्रीन वर.
Yes, I think someone is doing.
Yes. Annotation on आहे तुमचं. त्यामुळे ते प्रॉब्लेम येते.
Yes.
Off करता येते का बघा सर annotation.
Yes, I am doing that.
Somebody is doing misbehaving. So.
Anyone, I am requesting to all of you. If someone is doing like this, please stop it. Otherwise, the other is creating the problem. Can you do something if anyone is doing like this? Yeah, it's okay now.
Okay, okay, sir. Okay now.
Okay. Sorry for disturbance. So we have seen that HVDC is acting as a generator near to the load center. So if you see the power transmission capacity of the HVDC, that how we can compare with the HVDC and AC. So we know that in EHVAC, the power handling capacity depends on sending and receiving voltage and the distance of the transmission line and the power angle. That is the difference between this alpha 1 and alpha 2. So for the stability, the difference between these angles must be less than 30 degree. And for HVDC, we are having power handling capacity is a DC power into current DC. So that much will be the power handling capacity. So we can say that power in the DC is independent of the both end voltages, then the distance as well as power angle. So that's why we can achieve more stability in the HVDC system. Then this is the cost comparison. When the distance increases beyond 700 to 800 kilometer, HVDC is more economical than AC. These are the cost structure. These are some of the devices which we use for the HVDC transmission. There is a diode, uncontrolled switch, semi-control switch, is a thyristor which we can made it on, but we can't off. And the control switches like IGBTs, that is we can made it on and off. So these are known as force commutated devices, and these are the, we can say, line commutated devices. Based on these, we are having thyristor based technology, and we are having voltage source converter based technology. So time is very less, so we'll try to cover it. So this is the comparison of devices. Thyristors is operated on 50 to 60 hertz. GTOs can be operated in the range of frequency less than 500 hertz, and the IGBTs or IGCTs, that is integrated gate commutated thyristors, IGCTs, can be operated on the frequency of 1000 hertz or sometimes 2000 or 3000 hertz also. So that's why if you operate any electronic device into the power system with the range of more than 1000 hertz, definitely you can achieve fine control over your power system parameters. So any voltage, frequency, that power, reactive power, you can control with such devices. That's why this is the very emerging technology nowadays. So future is very bright for this technology. So based on these, we have some types of HVDC, that is current source converters, voltage source converters, and hybrid HVDC. It's a theoretical aspect. So this can be, there are many benefits of these systems. Like HVDC Classic is generally used for the, that is a bulk power transmission. Then when there is a short circuit ratio of the system is less than 3, then CCC is used. When short circuit ratio is, we can say 0 also, then voltage source converter technology is used. Here the advantage is active and reactive power can be controlled independently. It is having dynamic control. It's a modular, expandable, having a black start capability. So in case of any major grid disturbance, it acts as a charging medium for the charging of the other section of grid. So that's why it is a highly advantageous technology, and Power Grid has already planned this technology and already started implementing also. So these are the system, that is thyristors, these are the converter transformers, and in CCC there are the series capacitors, and this is the voltage source converter technology. So these are the technologies where the applications of HVDC, whenever there is a long distance, you can go for HVDC or AC technology with the fax devices, or more than 50 kilometer distance. When I want to transmit power with the cables, then HVDC is uniquely suitable. Asynchronous link, it acts as a HVDC. When there is a different frequency regions I have to connect, then HVDC is best option. These are the constraint of AC transmission, that is the power handling capacity. When distance increases, the power handling capacity of AC line goes on decreasing. There are the more losses, transmission losses, voltage and stability constraints are there. Then you have to go for compensation and all those things. But when you use DC, DC is independent of the distance. For any distance, you can use the HVDC. There are many features in HVDC, but I have to summarize because there is a question answer session also. So there are runoff function, damping controller, frequency control. There are the many features in HVDC. Ground return, many advantages are there. Lower losses are there in case of DC transmission. AC and DC, when we compare, the material cost is very less. Right of way required is very less when we go for DC. Just we can compare 400 megawatt AC and 2000 megawatt DC, just right of way we can compare. This is an animation which shows how we can save the corridor when we go for the DC transmission. And sometimes when we go for underground, there is no issue of corridor also. These are the modes of operation. It is a bipolar mode of operation of HVDC. This is monopolar mode of HVDC with the ground return option. And this is the monopolar with the metallic return. So these are the modes of operation. And these are the applications where you can go for overhead line, cable, then there are different grids or networks you can connect. And also you can connect the renewable energy sources. That is the also benefit of the HVDC. Like a hydros, wind, that is a hydros, wind, thermal, solar, all the systems you can connect with the voltage source converter based technology. Now the limitations, the cost of HVDC is more, converter station size large, then there are the filter, power, electronic devices, thermal management system is needed, high cost of DC breakers, which we use in a neutral part, then inability to use transformers to change voltage level, generation of harmonics, complexity of control. So these are some of the limitations, but with the help of new technology like voltage source converter, all these limitations they have overcome. This is the converter transformer HVDC. This is smoothing reactor. This is the thyristor valve. This is the DC breaker, how metallic return transfer breaker works, that we can see later on. DC voltage divider, how DC voltage can be measured, how DC current can be measured. Then at last I want to just discuss how current flows through the ground. So this is the electrode station. Whenever there is a monopolar mode is on, so in that monopolar condition, what happens? The return current goes through ground, but before that it goes through the electrode line, and there are the electrodes which are buried to 2.5 to 3 meters deeper, and this current goes to this ground, and this area act as a conductor, and the property of DC always flows, or any current always follows to the least impedance path. And if you see the structure or nature of the earth, so actually earth already when you go deeper and deeper into the earth towards the that is the core of the earth, then the resistance decreases. So whenever this current goes into the earth, so that actually goes deeper and deeper. So actually in DC transmission monopolar ground return mode, current actually flows from this inverter to rectifier and completed its path. So this is like this. And in the field of now microgrids, that smart grids and super grids, HVDC is immensely useful technology for the bulk power transmission, and it is acting as a super highways. We have already seen that gigawatts of power can be transmitted over a longest distance. And this is the future of HVDC. All countries are connecting to their neighboring countries like Argentina, Brazil, and all these northern, southern, all these parts, they are connected. We have planned with the Sri Lanka, then Bangladesh. So like that we are going to connect. Means in future, though the frequencies of every country is different, but with the help of HVDC cables and overhead lines, it is possible to connect whole world as a one grid. So this might be the future, that whole world is having a single grid. So these are our future webinars. In future, if you want to register for these webinars, like practical aspects of HVDC, practical aspects of HVDC, modern trends in HVDC, modern trends in power system, flags technology, smart grid, our system operation, how load dispatch done in our country, power transmission and distribution system, substation design, line construction, that is the advanced technology, that is phasor measurement unit, PMU technology, renewable energy management center system. Then these are the operation and maintenance of HVDC, EHV substation lines. So this will be our future webinars. So you can attend it. And this is the contact number and email ID. So thanks to all of you. And if you have some queries, you can ask. Now you can unmute yourself and please ask some of the queries if you have.
Hello, sir.
Yes. Yes.
Sir, can you explain, shed more light on monopolar and bipolar system?
Yeah. See, generally, most in India, most of all systems are generally, these are developed in bipolar mode because we want the reliability of system. Generally, whenever one pole fails or trip, so that another pole should take the power with the half capacity and give the power to the system. So that's why bipolar means positive and negative. So both pole can carry, like take the case of Chandrapur Padge. So it is a 1500 megawatt bipolar system. So positive pole is 750 megawatt and negative pole is 750 megawatt. So for the reliability, for the, we can say that redundancy, we want two poles to transmit the bulk power from rectifier to inverter. And if suppose one pole fails, then that same system will get converted into monopolar system. One pole will trip and other pole will continue with the 50% power. So that is the monopolar and bipolar. In bipolar mode, the reference is used as a ground. Normally the potential difference, because of the plus minus voltage difference, the normal current flows to the ground. That is the difference. Otherwise, the whole current goes through positive pole and returns through the negative pole. The loop completed like this. But when there is a monopolar mode, it can be operated in the two modes. One is one is from the ground return. You can use ground as a return path, or if the pole which is not in service but its line is healthy, that line you can use as a return path for the healthy pole. So that is known as monopolar metallic return mode. So this is a concept of monopolar and bipolar system.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yes.
What is the status of fault current in DC? Because DC circuit breaker, I think it is very difficult to break the fault current in DC.
Yeah.
So how DC circuit breaker works?
Yeah. See, generally in DC system, there are only breakers in neutrals, and those breakers are conventional SF6 types of breaker. In HVDC, you will never find out when we are talking about thyristor based HVDC. So there is no DC breaker. Now people has developing the actual DC breaker. ABB has after 100 years they have developed one system that is a DC breaker, but that is still under studies and under testing.
Research.
Yeah.
Research. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But DC breaker actually you don't require when you are going for the thyristor based technology, because whenever there is a fault on the DC line, that fault current flows in the ground, and that will sensed by the DCCT and DVD, and that command is given to the control system. Accordingly, control system will stop the firing pulses of the thyristors, and if the firing pulses stop, it stops conducting. So in this way, if you start conducting, then fault current will not feed, and automatically the path of that fault current will be cut off. So in this way, you don't require any DC breaker to break the DC current or fault current.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. One more question, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is there any research opportunity in HVDC in India?
There is a tremendous opportunity if you work on the voltage source converter technology. See, in India, we are now this power grid is implementing that is Puglur, that HVDC, that is based on voltage source converter. So I am
Okay.
suggesting you to work in voltage source converter based technology, and you will get the guidance also, because that project it is going to complete in the up to December. So
Okay.
you just I have contact number also there. You can interact with them if you want to
Definitely,
work.
definitely.
If you want to work with them, you can work. But the most
Yeah, yeah.
most bright future in the now in the voltage source converter technology, and the next version of it is a modular multi-level converter, that is MMC
Okay.
based HVDC. So
Okay.
you can
So,
work on that also.
yeah, last question, sir. Sorry.
Yeah,
What is light HVDC? Is
yeah,
it similar to VSC based or something
yeah.
different?
It's just a trademark of ABB. It's
Okay.
they have given their trademark HVDC Light.
Yeah.
Because it was initially developed for the use for the 1,000 megawatt capacity. Now,
Hmm.
so that's why they have given their name. So
Hmm.
ABB has given HVDC Light, Siemens has
Hmm.
given HVDC Plus, and
Hmm.
Alstom has given that is another one of the names they have given. Max Sign,
Okay. Okay.
that is the Max Sign they have given name. So these are the, some
Okay.
of the typical names given by them.
Okay. This is not actually technology. It's a VSC based technology
Yeah,
only.
yeah, these are all
It
VSC
is.
based technology. These are the only their trademarks.
Okay. 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 Fine. Fine. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other queries from other participants?
Sir, what is the means back-to-back HVDC? You talked about some
Yeah,
terms used.
yeah. So back-to-back
Back-to-back HVDC.
HVDC. Yeah. So back-to-back HVDC generally known as zero length link. What it is known as zero length link means there is no physical line between rectifier and inverter. Suppose take the case of Chandrapur Ramagundam HVDC. So at the Chandrapur end means our western part of our country and southern part of our country got connected with this back-to-back HVDC, but physically at the border there is one rectifier station and inverter station, means line length is physically zero. Just with the help of IPS conductors, they are connected. This rectifier output and inverter input is just connected by small IPS tubes, IPS conductors. So line length is zero, and their purpose is to transfer the power from one regional grid to another regional grid. Means to balance the power between the two regional grids, the HVDC back-to-back system is used. Got it?
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello. And so, how the reactive power is fed exactly at the inverter and like at
Yeah.
that point after the conversion?
Yeah. In HVDC, it is the necessary that whenever you transmit power over a DC system, so if it is a voltage source converter based technology, thyristor based technology, there must be 50 to 60% reactive power present at rectifier as well as inverter station. So for that, to compensate that reactive power, you have to connect the filters at the AC side, and that filter must be energized from the 400 kV or connected supply, and then the capacitor component of those filters will provide the reactive power for the conversion process. Because we know that in the conversion process, after the thyristor valves, there are the converter transformers. Then in filters, there are the inductors. So it's a totally, we can say, reactive nature or inductive nature components are used. So because of that, we want some reactive power, and that will be compensated by the filters. Generally, passive filters are used in the AC side.
Yes, sir. And sir, in case if we do not have any kind of AC source at the inverter end, like a 400 source, in case of suppose in case of hypothetical case that we have the blackout over there and we
Yeah.
have to energize the system using the HVDC link.
Okay.
So we have the absence of reactive power for the like AC power at the inverter end. So
Yeah.
in case, can we charge the system, sir?
It depends on the technology, which technology you are using. Suppose you are using the line commutated converters, thyristor based technology, then you cannot charge if your one end is charged but another end is in blackout, so you cannot charge. That is the limitation with the conventional HVDC. Same case is with the triple C HVDC, that is capacitor commutated converter. That is also same limitation. But the new technology based on voltage source converter, where you can use this one end, if it is one end is charged, another end you can charge through that technology. That is the benefit of voltage source converter.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay. Another queries?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, what are the advantages of voltage source technology?
Okay. HVDC, in particular, if you talk about the voltage source converters, these are the actually, you can control reactive and active power in the real time. Means real time, and you are having an independent control. Suppose conventional HVDC, what happen? If you want to increase active power on the link, you have to provide 50 to 60% reactive power in that proportion. But here, in case of voltage source converter, you can operate your link with a zero reactive power, or plus reactive power, or minus reactive power also. So that's why this is the biggest advantage. You can independently control active and reactive power. Another, it has having black start capability. Then it is a compact system. Space requirement is very less. The installation timing is less, and the harmonic filter size is very less, as the harmonics shifted on the higher side. Again, what happened because of that? That harmonic filter requirement is less. So these are some of the benefits of voltage source converter.
Okay, sir, one more question.
Yes.
Sir, in some books, they write down that reactive power requirement in HVDC is more as compared to SC?
More, yeah, definitely. Because here we have the converters, and for the conversion operation, we are having the bulky converter transformers, which are having a 3-winding transformers, and their reactive power requirement is very high. So that's why we have to additionally supply the reactive power with the help of filters, passive filters on the AC side.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Another queries? These are, if you have still some queries, you can take this contact number, email ID. Here, S is small, just note down that S is small. Okay. So I think today already time is, so we will having a continuous this power system series of lectures. So definitely you can join it. We remain in contact, and so we can continue this. So this will be the benefit for industry as well as we can say academic people, so that we can get the practical knowledge, and practical knowledge is most important. Rather than studying only through books, if you see the thyristor wall size there, it is very small. We cannot understand. But when you see actually practically, so well, I am having practical all the images and videos. So later on I can share with you. So just try to attend these our webinars. Okay. So I'm thankful to all of you for your participation in this free webinar. Thanks a lot. If anyone has further queries, you can contact.
Thank you, sir.
Or call, or you can mail also. So thanks to all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So I'm here ending today's session. So once again, thanks to all of you.
Hello, sir. I want to know when will be your next session?
I will inform you. Already, I think you got the today's link. So
Yeah.
on that same number, I will send you next session.
Oh, okay. Then you'll WhatsApp this link.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for wonderful information, sir.
Okay, okay. Definitely in future also we can share the many practical aspects of power.
So can you share this PPT, sir?
Yeah, definitely I will share.
I'll mail you, sir, through my mail ID.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, thank you.